Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bob Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And we got a victory mailbag. The Giants beat the damn Seahawks on Sunday, and here we are on Wednesday answering your damn questions. Justin, how are you damn doing?
Bobby, I'm good. Hopefully Malik Neighbors comes back and the team gets better. We watched film, we looked at stats, and we're going to talk about how the New York Giants played a good game, and some key young players had some good games as well on the defensive side of the ball. And we're going to talk about good things, and talking about good things is a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, we have the coaching advantage thing in the title, but I think this mailbag is a lot about like coaching advantages that the Giants have had, and some players, player stuff in it too. But we usually cover the players a little more on Mondays because that's who won the games, and then Wednesday is when we can figure out what the coaches did to put those players in the right spot and what guys weren't performing. So we'll get into all of it. Justin, this episode was brought to you by some very, very special people. They're so freaking special to me, they don't even realize. The sounds, there's like a sound of sarcasm in my voice, but it's not. It's like I'm enthusiastic how important these people are. We got Joshua Rojas. I love Joshua Rojas. Not Rojo like red, Rojas. We got Lally Vang. He puts the Fang in Vang. Colorado G-Men, just the entire fan base in that state. Lou Cutry, not Lou Sassel, but Lou Cutry. Mike Spino, he's got a spine. Sometimes you got to have a spine to stand up to power. Ham Seed, we talked about Ham Seed last week. Justin, who are these people?
These wonderful people went to patreon.com/talkofgiants, and for $2 a month plus some other tiers, you get to hang out with us live while we record the shows. Oh boy, that's Sunday night. That's Sunday night against the Bengals. Victory Monday, early victory. It will be Victory Monday by the time that Patreon hangs out with us. It's gonna be awesome, man, and you don't want to miss it. Join the best community of Giants fans. Patreon.com/talkofgiants. There's some shirt raffles. Some Bobby Skinner will send you some stickers in the mail as well. And I'll ask you this quick. I'm sensing stress in your voice. Hurricane based?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things based because it's like, all right, we got to do the hurricane and got to do this, and then they got to do this, and then talk about that. But yeah, we'll talk about the hurricane later, though. People don't give a damn about the hurricane; they care about the Giants. We got a hurricane.
Well, I hope you're okay. That's what I'm going to tell you. I hope you'll be okay.
We got the hurricane. We'll talk about later. I need to talk about the Giants. That's what I need in my life right now.
So,
all right, take it away, Steve.
Mail time.
The mail's here. Come on. Here's the mail. It never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Thanks, Steve from Blues Clues. Justin, let's get into the mail.
Ben Butler at Ben Butler 7 asks, what did Banks do differently to keep DK Metcalf so quiet?
The simple answer is he played really well.
Right.
Obviously they did some things to help him. They doubled DK Metcalf a good amount, especially on some third down plays, Justin. And there was he wasn't following him. Like Cordell Flott had an awesome play on a pass breakup on DK Metcalf.
A diving pass deflection?
Yeah, it was a good disguise by Shane Bowen where they made it look clearly like cover 3, and it was actually man coverage. So some good disguises in there too. But I think he just played disciplined while also aggressive out of off coverage. I think that's as simple as it was. There was my favorite play was towards the end of the game where DK throws a lot of routes at him. He doesn't budge at all. And then he turns his head, looks at the QB, and gets his hands on the football. Early in the game, we saw that. I think it was a little bit of just trusting that the pass rush would get there, especially on blitzing downs or, blitzing plays. Trust. Hey, read DK's hips. Don't fall for, foot jabs or head fakes, and then pounce and then turn your head at the football from off coverage. I thought that's what it is. I don't think we could come out of this game being see, that's all we needed. But I think it was the best game of his career.
Oh, it was by far.
I think people get excited about an interception game last year or overrating because we always people always overrate rookies that aren't playing actively bad. But to me, this was the best game of his career by far to me.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, again, for DK Metcalf, I wasn't following DK Metcalf, but 35 of 47 routes, Deonte Banks, that's who DK Metcalf was lined up against, and it was 2 catches, 4 targets, 24 yards, and against DK Metcalf, Deonte Banks had those 2 forced incompletions. He forced the fumble. Him and Bobby Okereke forced the fumble. It was funny, the sound effects on the sideline. It was Banks and Okereke arguing, who was the one that's going to take credit for it. And then Tibbs was like, I've seen Okereke do it before. I don't know about you, but so that was a funny interaction on the sideline. And yeah, I mean, I think what really helped limiting DK Metcalf is the fact that a lot of those, you're playing off coverage, and when you're facing 3rd and longs, and when the Seahawks are facing 3rd and long, you can play off coverage. So the Giants actually doing a really good job on early downs on getting the Seahawks consistently into 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and plus. You could play off coverage, and then credit to Banks and even credit to Flott for making some instinctual plays on the football, and that's the one thing we've been asking for. I think Cordell Flott had 3 forced incompletions. I think Deonte Banks had 3 forced incompletions this past Sunday against the Seahawks that led the NFL, and the 60% forced incompletion rate that led the NFL this weekend. You're not going to do that every weekend, but that's why we're calling this Deonte Banks' best game of his career, because he did that. He did it against the Seattle Seahawks. He did it against DK Metcalf. And limiting DK Metcalf is one of the main reasons why the Giants won this football game, because Metcalf has been killing teams so far this year.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And I can't remember if it was last week on the mailbag or the week before, because Thursday Night Football, it all feels like so long ago. Where
I think it was last week.
Yeah, where we're talking about Banks, and definitely in a negative light of like, hey, he's not a cornerback 1 right now, and one performance doesn't do that. But also, like, yes, did people overrate his rookie season? Absolutely. But, and we, get hate for that in the moment, but in reality, it's like he's a young, growing player, and he doesn't look lost out there. That is important for the cornerback position. It's not a position that thrives right away. Now, there is guys that do.
It's so rare, though, man, and those guys are unicorns.
I see. This is where I disagree. I mean, looking from his class, the guys drafted ahead of him, like Witherspoon and Christian Gonzalez, those guys are better, but those guys are always looked at as better. Joey Porter Jr. has played better. Tyreek Stevenson's played better than him. But, like, again, I think he's far from a bad player, but he's not a good cornerback 1 in the NFL right now.
And one of the things that I brought up last week, I talked about some of the stats like average separation. There a lot of his advanced numbers, like the player tracking data, which say sometimes you don't like, sometimes you do, and you kind of pick and choose sometimes what player tracking data means. And I think for Deonte Banks, the average separation being better than what it was from last year, I think it backs up the whole point that, you know what, it's the catch point. That's the majority of Deonte Banks' issues right now, is that actually the separation is better. He's forcing more tighter window throws, but it's just you got to win at the catch point. And he did that against the Seattle Seahawks, and that's awesome. And I think that's how you're talking about Deonte Banks, the difference between a CB2 and a CB1. That's the difference. Can you make those plays on the football? Can you force incompletions? And can you create those positive plays for the defense?
Yeah, and we still haven't seen him do it in phase, which essentially means when you're running with a player, right? From the Seahawks, we saw it pouncing,
like those in-breaking routes,
pouncing out of off coverage, from cushion, right? We know he can do that. But he still needs to show, like he has still had not shown in the NFL that he can make a play on the football when he's in phase with a wide receiver. So, no Deonte Banks victory laps this week, but to me it was the best game where it was just like, this is just really clean film. Like this is just flat out good cornerback film against the Seahawks, where even in some good moments last year, that wasn't the case for him.
And back-to-back weeks where Cordell Flott, against Dallas, he allowed some catches, but I would even say as a complete game, and if we're talking about Cordell Flott as a starter, Bobby, I would even say the Seahawks game was the best game of Cordell Flott's career, right? He's made some more impressive plays in other games, but in terms of a complete game where you're starting, yeah.
He's had some decent games in the NFL. I don't know, but I'm also not, can only focus in on individual players so much when you're watching film. So I'm not. I saw some plays that he made, but I wasn't focusing in on how well he was covering guys on a down and down, which I was for Banks.
Well, I'm going to say it. Cordell Flott and Deonte Banks together had their best games of their NFL career so far.
All right,
Boom.
next question.
Next question is coming from, this is a NYA Larry Tho Tep at Lad Listine. What's with the run blocking schemes? Why did they go heavy power/gap and duo and have it work, and then try zone blocking and then go back to power/gap and duo, Bobby? You've been talking about this for weeks.
Yeah, so they should do it more, but there also is context to it. Is like they ran duo 61% versus the Commanders and then 50% versus Seahawks. And even that 50% number versus the Seahawks is a little skewed low because of all the QB draws they run. And, I've been calling this stuff out with my eye test on the amount of times, but I want to thank Doug Analytics because he has the actual percentages of how many times they ran it. And then, the Cowboys game was ridiculous. They ran zone 82% against them. 82%, and it was their worst game so far. The context, though, is that the Commanders and the Cowboys, let me slow down. Now, the context is that the Browns and the Cowboys stack the box a lot more. And it's better to try and run zone versus stacked box because, you're playing again off of where you're blocked well. The thing is that the Giants are just bad at running zone. The interior offensive line is just, it's not filled with guys who are overly athletic or ass kickers who allow you to win like that, and it messes up the runs. But they want to do that because it's more favorable. If you can be a good zone running team, run zone because you have options on every single play. Where gap and man schemes, you kind of have one or two options, and if the defense fails in those spots, you can be screwed. But I think the Giants should just stick to it because that's what they're best at. But there's reasons why is because zone is what I think is on paper is a better run play.
Do you think it's more like running back friendly, where it gives them more options and more holes to go through?
Sure, but again, we also, we'll talk about Singletary and Tracy, but we're not talking about Terrell Davis here.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
Outside zone play action is also better because it gets the linebackers moving sideways and up. Instead of man play action.
But they definitely don't run a ton of outside zone, right? They definitely don't do that.
The Giants?
Yeah.
Oh, they've been running it
outside zone?
In some games,
49ers?
they've been running it. Yeah, they've been against the Cowboys. They ran it a good amount. So, but I'm saying that type of play action is a lot better because it gets the linebackers moving sideways and up. Where man play action, it just gets them moving up. And they want to run those types of play action calls. So zone is just the better way to live, but you have to have the guys that do it, and the Giants don't.
No.
And I think there's others plays that the Giants are good at, like pin and pull, right? 3rd and 1, Giants run pin and pull. You have a 13 run for Tyrone Tracy. Why have the Giants got away from that? And that's where your best interior offensive lineman who's good at pulling is John Michael Schmitz, right? And so when you get pin and pull, then you allow your center to pull. It allows Andrew Thomas and Jermaine Illuminor to pull, right? Those are your 3 best pullers, where when you're running power, well, then you have Runyon and Van Roten who aren't good pullers doing that stuff for you. But there's also ways around it, right? You can run zone. There's little technique stuff like the Giants did, and the Giants have done this, right? I've learned some of this stuff from the Giants, where if you're running weak zone, well, instead of just trying to block this guy and go to the linebacker, you just have the guard pin down the A gap and then have the center pull around and go to the linebacker. So there's ways around it, and the Giants need to find a better identity and stop saying, oh, well, we're facing a team that's stacking the box a lot. Let's run zone. There needs to be an identity for this run team and drill it and build on it. And if teams start keying in on that, then you can get to some of that stuff. Because if they start keying in on that, guess what? The edges are a little more free.
Yeah, a lot of I tried to find just kind of loosely and quickly. I'm like, all right, well, maybe is it outside the tackles that the Giants are better at? Is it inside the tackles? Is it when the Giants are running into light boxes, neutral boxes, heavy boxes, and there's really nothing where it sticks out. It's like, oh, this is where the Giants' run game, outside of what Bobby's saying, which are besides, Doug Analytics and Bobby have numbers on it, but there's really no numbers where there's one part of this Giants rushing game that sticks out. And then the rest, they're bad. They've been bad in a lot of categories, except kind of like this whole eye test of duo, and they gotta find their identity a little bit more.
Yeah, and they should know what it is. Like they see the same shit. But I think because in the passing game they do such a good job of game planning around the opponent and finding out their weaknesses that they do the same thing in the run game. Where like the Cowboys got killed by the Saints running zone and doing a bunch of, and the Ravens doing zone reads, and that's what they tried to do versus the Cowboys, and they're just not good at that.
No.
And it led to the Cowboys having their best, run defense game. So I think that's the issue, and that's something that goes all the way back to Buffalo. I remember interviewing the Cover One guys when the Giants hired Brian Dable, and when we do our introductory podcast, it's like, yeah, he's got a good mix of zone and gap. He switches it up, which sounds good. And then when we interviewed them, they're like, that's part of the issue, though. Is they don't really have an identity as a rushing offense. So
right.
That's that they need to find an identity of what they're rushing. I think identity is an overused word, and people were trying to like make headlines out of that, early in the season with Brian Dable. But with the run game, it is a real thing. Like I remember, 2020 when the run game was like, we forget how bad the run game was early in that year. Like they could not run the ball at all. Joe Judge takes over essentially the run game.
Yeah.
And then all of a
Caden
sudden,
Smith as the lead blocker.
Yeah, they became like a team that pulled a ton, right? You had Shane Lemieux, Will Hernandez, Zeitler, like having their guys get out and pull, and like that was their thing. It became a really good counter power O team, and then you're happy with the success that Wayne Gallman and Alfred Morris had that year. So
yeah.
I think the run game is something where we overuse the thing identity. And Dable said our identity should be to score points. I agree, but with the run game, I think you do need to do it. Unless you're just so good at it that you can do everything, but they're not.
Right. Identity should be do what works. Right?
Yeah, and I think we've got a good sample size of what works and what doesn't. Now, again, they've pulled these things against light boxes, so you can say, well, it's out of context, but even when it's stacked boxes, these runs work better.
Yeah.
Right.
And do you feel like
they ran zone versus Seahawks as well too, and it was nowhere near as successful as the other stuff.
And I've seen Research Rick tweet out this a good amount, and it's so unfortunate that the site that I used for personnel grouping frequencies and efficiencies out of that, it's a shame that it's not working this year. But do you get the sense? I feel like they're running so much better out of 11 personnel. And I'm not going to go as far to say it because there was a lot of runs that Tyron Tracy had that were under center. But I just feel like they're so much better when they operate from 11. And I think there was even they utilized 10 personnel a little bit this past weekend too. I feel like they're so much better when they run out of that instead of 12 or 13, right?
I can't say exactly one way or the other. But like the tight
what's your
ends
opinion? Because I'm going off my eye test, and I just think that this
I would say they're better
works.
in 11 because Theo Johnson did a good job, and honestly, the receivers have been improved blockers this year. Like some of their
Wan'Dale
nice
Robinson.
runs were Darius Slayton, even Jalen Hyatt and Wan'Dale Robinson getting in on some blocks. So yeah, I would say they should run more out of 11.
Yeah, and Chris Manhertz has done a nice job too. I think sometimes being the only tight end on the field. Now that the problem is that's a little bit of a tell.
Yeah, but Theo's been a good run block. Theo's been a good blocker this year though. So
yeah, so that's why it's a shame that it's like, damn, I almost wish they were better when they you put 12 personnel up there. It's like, all right, put Theo and Manhertz out there, or you put Bellinger out there, and it's kind of been a little bit of the opposite.
And their 12 personnel play action hasn't been very good. It's actually been the 11 personnel play action that's been better anyway.
I know. And I've been calling for that the last couple of weeks. So I'm ready to move on to the next question.
Next question.
All Blue at All Blue Giants. After rewatching the DJ run where Jerome Baker cheap shots him and DJ apparently got up and taunted him by saying, read an ad. And I'll read it.
Rays,
oh, you read it.
Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. We don't want to break the bank unless you're trying to break into it, which I'm thinking about doing, honestly, these days. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures, which I'm going to be getting into some outdoor adventures, Justin, over the next couple days with this old hurricane coming down the pipe. And one of the most important things is having eyewear in there, because you have sand, dirt, maybe even like sticks. Like, you don't want to get poked in the eye. You got to have your eyes protected. And I got my Shady Rays. I had it for Hurricane Irma. I had it for all the hurricanes. So, plus, if your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, like from a tree branch, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you don't love your shades, exchange for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code GIANTS for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. And that offer applies to the custom Jimmy Jake and collab shades. So go get yours now. I know you want the Jimmy and Jake ones. Justin, you saw on Sunday, somebody tried to buy my Shady Rays off of me after the watch party. And I was like, no, you're not taking my Shady Rays. Like, I
cannot do that.
It was a very weird, it was like almost like a power play. It was like, are you like trying to fuck with me mentally? Like, are you trying to, no, you cannot buy my sunglasses, dude. I said, but you can go to Shady Rays
and get a better deal.
I actually didn't say that, but I did tell him it was like, go to Shady Rays. That's where I got them from. So, all right, Justin, next question.
You'll be glad you did.
Glad you did.
A fan with a mic at a fan with a mic. Good friend of ours. With Tyrone Tracy's performance, do you expect to see more of a running back by committee approach when Devin Singletary is back? And yeah, there better be.
Yeah, I want you to lead off on this because I don't have like now I think there should be more Tracy carries, but like, where are you with like Devin Singletary versus Tyrone Tracy? I think you've had a pretty good eye for running backs in the draft over the last few years. Like, where do you view Singletary versus Tracy right now?
I mean, I like both. I don't think it's a crime to say that the Giants should have a running back by committee, but let's just look at this. Devin Singletary has 56 attempts. Tyrone Tracy has 30 attempts, and that's obviously that's about half. I know it's one game that's very heavy on one game. But Tracy already has 4 runs of 10+ yards and Singletary has 6. Singletary has 8 runs of 15+ miles an hour. Tracy has 7. If Tyrone Tracy is going to be a running back that may provide you a little bit more explosiveness, the total yards after contact is 187 for Devin Singletary, and it's already 111 for Tyrone Tracy. 111 yards after contact. And Singletary has almost double the carries. 2 fumbles and 2 fumbles lost for Devin Singletary is the big one too. But Tracy, he needs more carries. Tracy also may have a freaking fumble problem. All of our running backs may have fumble problems.
I mean, he did fumble a kick return, but but Singletary's shown a problem with it where Tracy has 1.
Right. So I like both. I don't think Singletary should be just not featured in the offense. I think Tracy should be featured as a receiver. I think Tracy did fine as a pass blocker. I actually think there were some plays where there were some linebackers that were really bringing the blitz, and they would have been untouched if Tracy didn't step up and actually have some good pass blocking protection. So that's a checkbox too of can Tyrone Tracy be a good pass blocker? It's one game with everything, but as of now and going into the Bengals, which the Bengals have a bad defense, I'm approaching it almost as a 50-50. And I think Devin Singletary should get a drive. And if there are some plays where you're not liking what you see from Devin Singletary, then Singletary comes out. And I think Tyrone Tracy can have some drives. I think now you could feel confident enough in our running back split on one guy getting a drive, and then he comes out. And then another guy gets a drive. And you see who has a hot hand, and then you go from there. Do you agree with that approach? Yeah,
I agree. And that does make it harder for defenses because there's different running backs that have different keys, and it's just hard to key in when you don't know who's, you're not preparing for just one guy. Now, I still think Singletary should get the majority of the carries as of now. They both had good games against the teams that didn't stack the box. Tracy, a better game, because he has but Singletary's averaging a little more yards per carry and stack boxes going into the Seattle game. Tracy has the speed element to create more big plays that Singletary doesn't have, but I still think Singletary has better vision, right now at least, and the ability to break tackles. Right? Singletary has 20 missed tackles forced. Tracy only has 1. Singletary also runs a little harder, averages more yards after contact per attempt. But Singletary also has the fumbles going against him, right? So that could be all right, if you're gonna fumble, if let's say Devin Singletary fumbles in the second quarter, I would consider like not playing him the rest of the game and just giving.
I would too.
Tracy
You got to figure that out, man.
Yeah,
it's costing us football games.
So I still would give Singletary the lead back role, but I want a 2 running back approach going forward. Like I don't want, but I don't want to overact one game against a team that didn't stack the box at all. But you do see the explosive, the explosive plays that Tracy creates, right? If you want to run outside the tackles a little more, Tracy's your guy for that. And that's what he was in college as well.
But especially as the Giants are looking for their identity in the run game, I think Tyrone Tracy deserves the opportunity to prove if this can continue. Okay, yeah, it's one. We're saying it's one game, but get excited from that one game. And if there's a reason why we shouldn't be excited about Tyrone Tracy, then we'll adjust. But I think that having a good game and allowing a rookie to build off of that good game, the Giants should allow Tyrone Tracy to do that. And if he can take more of a mantle in this offense, I'm 100% for that.
One thing I will say is it's a little hard to say because he's been so good in the screen game. I don't ever want to see Eric Gray carry the ball again. Like you just compare them. It's like this guy makes better cuts, better reads. Like the fumble that Trace or Gray had, it drives me nuts. Not just because of the fumble, but it's like, why did you jump? Why did you jump? When you had a crease to go through, you could have planted your right foot in the ground and cut and put your shoulders down. Instead, you wanted to jump over guys. Yeah. Like that shit drives me nuts. And there was other plays where it's like, you bounced this, there was a gap, for some reason you bounced this, and it was, on the goal line, the difference between 7 points, actually basically a 14-point swing because they ended up returning it for a fumble.
We said it live, right? That was when he should. Yeah, man.
Yeah, so there was,
he's got to cut that upfield and just run the guy over.
Yeah. So I don't want to see Gray getting any more carries. So if you think Tracy can do the same things in the screen game and it's more about the blocking than Tracy itself, then give that shit to him because I don't want to see Gray carry the ball anymore.
Yeah. I mean, also in the screen game, this is no offense to Eric Gray, when there's 20 yards of clean green grass in front of you, I think any running back can do good with that.
Did you see? I actually went and did the stat. This is the Giants' most yards per completed screen pass in the last 10 years. Probably even further back than that. And I also had something confirmed is that they were good in 2019. 2019 was close to this year. It's been the second best in the last 10 years. So I remember those people doubting me. You were dead wrong. You were all wrong. You were overreactionary. You were looking for ways to get mad at Pat Shurmur because you wanted him fired and you didn't have any good reasons.
They're averaging over 10 yards per screenplay so far this year, right?
Yeah, per completion. But
per completion,
I'm not going to look at incomplete screen passes as
that's fair. That's fine.
Yep. All right. Next question.
Wes Locke at Wesley Westicles, he's asking, is it scheme or opponents resulting in higher sacks in the 2 wins?
I think it's a combination of scheming against those opponents, right? Like, the Commanders game still drives me nuts because it's like you played from light boxes against a team that's running the ball like this. You played off coverage against a team that is willing to just take those throws all day. Like, it still drives me nuts. And they didn't blitz at all. Or, they blitzed a little bit, but they didn't blitz much. And I think in the Browns and the Seahawks game, they had weaknesses. The Browns is just their protections overall, and Deshaun Watson stinks, but they went after them, right? They blitzed over, almost 70% of the time. It's one thing to blitz sometimes. That's a we are spamming this type of game. And then versus the Seahawks, I asked for this on the preview pod, and they did it. Blitz with your DBs because it looks like Kenneth Walker has no interest in even looking for the right guy to block. And it hit home. So I think it's a little bit of both. And, I think Kayvon's actually played much better consistently. Burns, I actually don't think wins as often as Kayvon, but when Burns wins, it's just like these are special types of plays.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of Burns plays where it's like, all right, dude, you got totally shut out on this. And then Dexter Lawrence in the middle, balling out. So I think Shane Bowen has adjusted, right? Tried to disguise some of his looks and become, blitzing, and especially on the money downs, showing blitz too. It's not like he's blitzing 60% of the time like the Browns game every game, but on third downs, on money downs, that's when he's coming after it and not just sitting back.
Yeah, week 5, or week 3, excuse me, against the Cleveland Browns, the Giants had this is according to Next Gen, a 53.2% blitz rate. That was second highest in the NFL from that weekend. And then week 5 against the Seattle Seahawks, that blitz rate went down.
Wasn't even that high of a blitz rate because the Seahawks passed them. It's going to be skewed. You want to know why?
Why?
Because those last 3 drives, they went 4-man rush, soft zone.
Okay.
And that was that was legitimately like half of the Seahawks plays. Like, and I'm not joking. Like, I remember when I was going through the film, I have a different file for offense and defense. The offense, I had 5 minutes left on it. The defense, I had 25 minutes left.
So the Giants in the first quarter had a 25% blitz rate. In the second quarter, we'll just do this off of the first half. In the second quarter, they had a 45% blitz rate.
Okay, there we go.
So there you go.
Eye test matches stats. I fucking love when that happens.
Love that. So yeah, but the sources of blitzes, I think, like Bobby said, that's the 2 differing things. I also think they won more with their front 4 against the Seahawks too.
They did.
Just rushing 4, I should say. Did you know that the Giants are the only team in the NFL to have 2 games with 7 or more sacks to start the season, and Dexter Lawrence has a combined 5 sacks in those 2 games, and then even Doug Analytics pulled this up too. Since 2000, the Giants are only the second team to record 2 games with 7+ sacks in the first 5 weeks of the season. They joined the 2006 Eagles, who had 7+ sacks against both the Giants and the Cowboys. So, obviously, you want to see more consistency, but if the Giants are going to have these games where they just explode and they get like 7 sacks, that's kind of fucking awesome.
I also want to say opponent matters too, and they've played essentially 3 teams in a row that have just no desire to run the football. And that matters too, because I'm not sure that they're a good run defense. The Commanders have been a really good rush offense all year, but they got them. The Vikings got them. The Browns are legitimately like one of the 10 worst offenses in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
The Cowboys
will have no desire to run the ball.
The Cowboys have an awful rushing offense, and then the Seahawks, they had Bowen actually stacked the box the first 6 plays of the game against the Seahawks, and then went back to his normal light box stuff. But I think that's part of it. And also another part of it is you don't have Cordell Flott playing the nickel, because the nickel is such a huge component of the Giants' run defense, and McLeod is just light years better than what Cordell Flott is too.
And Phillips too, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, McLeod and Phillips.
That's awesome. I love it.
All right, next play.
Next question, next play. Glock Roach, how much of the offensive line's improvement do you attribute to Carmen Brasillo and not just having better players?
I've given Carmen Brasillo a lot of credit. But I'm going to give the players the majority of the credit. Like,
they should.
It's because Andrew Thomas has always been good, obviously. But like Jermaine Illuminor being as good as he is allows the interior guys to work together so well, right?
Yes.
And are they picking up stunts really well? And I give Carmen Brasillo a lot of credit for that, the way they're setting the protections. Absolutely. But here's the thing. They have 3 smart guys in the middle. With JMS, we've even last year in the struggles, it's like the mental mistakes aren't there very often. John Runyon and Greg Van Roten. Greg Van Roten gets beat physically, but like those 2 guys don't make mental mistakes at all. And I think that's a forgotten issue in the last couple years with the Giants' bad offensive line, that it's not just guys losing, because the guys did just lose on their own, especially at the right tackle position. But a lot of it's mental mistakes, man. Like Marcus McKeithen, I couldn't believe I was like, how did you ever think this guy was ready? He's going the wrong way half the time. Evan Neal, there was a reason why they wanted John Runyon at right guard. It was because of Evan Neal's mental mistakes, and to get him on the same page with him. Mark Lewinsky couldn't, ID a stunt from a mile away. So it's the players. Now, I think Carmen Brasillo is putting them in the right spots. Absolutely. So Carmen Brasillo, I think, deserves a lot of credit. But like I said, I don't think any 3 of the guys on the interior, when you just watch them one-on-one pass blocking, you're like, this is great. Because it's not. It's really not. But they're working together as a unit that when one guy messes up, there's another guy there to help. They pick up every single stunt that's thrown at them for the most part. There's no misses in the blitz pickups. They got the running back going in the right spot all the time. When they need to use a tight end, they use a tight end. So you may look at that as just coaching, but that's also players. Like, the players have to put in the time and have the ability to have recall and see this look. We had that. So I give it to the players, but Carmen Brasillo is doing a great job of getting these guys in the right spots too.
Since the middle of training camp, Bobby, I'm thinking of a word that begins with a C, and it's very important for offensive line.
Trying to think of some funny joke with the word that starts with C. One's really bad.
Yeah, next Tuesday. Yeah.
Continuity, Justin.
There you go. That is correct. And I'm letting you know right now. We shouldn't even be talking about this. I feel bad as a fan, but we have to talk about it as a Talking Giants podcast. I'm slamming on the wood right now. This offensive line has had continuity, and they've had since the middle of camp. And Greg Van Roten's come in here, and they stopped fucking around with the whole Greg Van Roten at center thing and running at center. This line has been the line, and that has been like when's the last time has the Giants offensive line looked this good? When's the last time that the Giants offensive line has had continuity and good continuity? So again, I'm knocking on wood as much as I
Justin
can
in the second quarter,
and my knuckles are red over how much I'm knocking on wood. They have continuity. They're playing together, and that's so important for offensive line development. And
your knuckles are red. That means you're getting into a pass set.
Right.
You know that key, like it's on movies and stuff. It's like, look at his knuckles; they're white. He's run blocking and stuff.
Yeah.
If you're a professional offensive lineman and you're giving that away, in high school, our coaches like get that shit out, and then in college, my offensive line coaches like really lean forward, and then it's like the second game, it's like they're calling when we have a run play. Don't do that shit. That's cheating bullshit. Cheat with your put your knee in if you're going one. Anyways, what the fuck am I doing? Next question.
Hey, you're all right. Carson at Carson.
I want to coach some high school football right now. Damn it.
I do. It's a low key goal of mine. At Carson 7 Taylor. I have to become a lot more X's and O's oriented than I am right now.
Quality control to start. You know what? Right now, someone hire me and Justin as the O-line coach and an assistant O-line coach for some JV team. We'll come in, give us a decent enough salary. We'll still do Talking Giants, and we'll be there.
I'm very good at calling out tendencies. That is something that I take a lot of pride in. Carson at Carson 7 Taylor.
Yeah, I'm jealous. You get every time I see you getting to call games on Friday nights, I'm like, man, that looks like sick.
It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. Mostly when you call good, it's good football too. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck chuck if they could read an ad? And I'll tell you what, you know how much wood they would chuck? They would chuck as much as they can get to a Captain Morgan shot. And this episode is brought to you by Captain Morgan, the official spice rum sponsor of the NFL. The NFL season is where legends are born on and off the field. New ad read alert. Woo, woo. Some are last-second plays that turn the tide and change a team's destiny, while others are friends who follow the captain within to make a regular get-together into the stuff of legends, like our watch party. Our watch party this past Sunday. If you were there, you'll always remember it. And if you weren't there, you're saying, damn, I wish I was there. That's a Talking Giants watch party. So grab your crew, grab a captain and cola. Make it a story to remember because legends start when you follow the captain. Visit followthecaptain.com for more. Please drink responsibly. Captain Morgan, original spice rum, 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company in New York, New York. Bobby Skinner, you'll be glad you did. Drink responsibly. Go Captain. Captain Morgan, official spice rum, sponsor of the NFL and of the Talking Giants L16 tailgates. How do you like that?
Be glad you did.
Next question is coming from Joe Freer at jfreer0711. If you could rename Hurricane Milton with any current Giants player, who would it be? Hope you stay safe, Bobby, and any listeners affected. Yes, Bobby and any listeners affected. I know we have a lot of listeners in Florida.
A lot of
Florida peeps.
Giants fans. So I didn't look at this before, so I'm going to kind of go through the roster, and let's work on this together.
I mean, here while you go through the roster because we don't have a mailbag question
Hurricane
about this.
Boogie. That's not his real name.
Hurricane Boogie.
Hurricane Carlos would be a good one though.
Let's just again you go through the roster, come up with some good candidates in your head. We don't have a mailbag question about this guy, but dude, another game where like Hurricane Dex, where just Dexter Lawrence just fucks shit up, man. And now Dexter Lawrence is on a list with 2 other pass rushers. I don't know if I mentioned this on Sunday, but he's on a list with Aiden Hutchinson, who just had a bye. But there are 3 players in the NFL with 6 or more sacks, and Dexter Lawrence is one of them from the interior. So, dude, it just fucks shit up every game. Every game.
Yeah, he's nasty.
There's nothing more to say.
Yeah, I mean, he just kills it. And it sucks that everyone likes him now because it's like all the national guys get the Dex clip up Monday morning.
Oh no, I got it, and I got 5,000 likes. Boom.
How about that? So, I'm through the E's, actually, or through the G's for the last names.
Hurricane Daniel. It's a category 1.
Yeah, when we got hit with Hurricane Irma, I think, or one of the hurricanes, Daniel Jones' first preseason game, I was like, Hurricane Daniel coming for Massachusetts for the Patriots preseason game. Dime's going to be dropping from the air. I still remember that. People were like, that's insensitive. And it wasn't.
What do you got? Hurricane Hyatt, 0 targets.
No, it's got to be first names.
Hurricane Jalen.
So it's either got to sound cool or just it's just like this is the name of it. And some of these we've already had, like Hurricane Matthew Adams, that one.
Hurricane Nacho.
So here I got my 5 favorite ones, and you tell me which one's the best. So I got Hurricane Elijah,
Yes.
Hurricane Tommy, Hurricane Cordell. I don't think they'd ever pick that one. Hurricane Evan or Hurricane Tyrone. I think Hurricane Tyrone's the best one.
I would agree. I also love Elijah.
There's probably been a Hurricane Elijah. I mean, it's a biblical name.
It's a biblical name.
Let me look up Hurricane Elijah or a tropical storm or whatever. Yeah, they had Hurricane Elijah was this one hit the Great Lakes. Oh my God. This was a year ago. What the hell? How'd I miss this one? How did I miss this, dude? I can't believe this.
Detroit?
Yeah, it hit the Great Lakes. Michigan, Ohio, Ontario, Canada.
What the hell?
I feel bad.
Right after we left. Covering lines practice.
How about that? All right, Justin, next question. Hurricane Tyrone.
How about that? Next question.
It's
Hurricane
bullshit.
Malik.
We can't get a damn weatherman who wants to go and do this stuff either. I asked Jolly, and he's like, no.
Such a shame.
I'll fire him right
You
now
saw
if
the
there's a
Mets
weatherman
play.
who wants to come down to Melbourne, Florida, and do storm stuff. I don't
You
care
heard it
about
here
the Mets.
first.
What's more important, Justin? Hurricanes or the Mets?
I would say Hurricanes.
All right, so there we go.
Just in terms of world issues.
Priorities.
Hurricanes.
Priorities.
At Tarab knows, speaking of Hurricane Jalen, is Hyatt ever open and just being looked off, or is he mainly covered? Does Jalen, so just remind me, Jalen Hyatt does not have a target this year yet?
No, he has targets. He had 3 targets in the year. He doesn't have a catch. He didn't have a target in this game.
That might as well feels like three targets at this point through 5 games feels like 0 to me.
I think one was the last throw of the Cowboys game too.
Oh, that's right. So technically 2.
Jalen Hyatt's not good. He's still fast, right? Whenever you see him get a free release and run a post, it's like, damn, he's fast. But teams are ready for that. He can't run really any shorter intermediate route consistently well. His releases are awful, dude. Maybe it'll look different when he's, not going against Reek Woolen or somebody who's, long and can be physical, but his releases were awful. He's getting moved off his track by 5-6 yards. And people oh, well, he wasn't in the progression a lot. How do you put a guy like that in the progression consistently if you can't trust him to be in the right spot and keep your space? You can't. And we saw in a game, we saw Darius Slayton be there's a reason why Darius Slayton was better as a rookie than what Jalen Hyatt is, because he's a more complete player and he gets open deep too. Darius Slayton had 2 deep catches in this game, and the one deep catch that Darius Slayton had, you talked about it on the podcast, and I saw some other people Slayton Hyatt ended up having a step or 2 on his corner. Guess what though? Slayton had a better release. So guess who was 3 yards ahead of him, 10 yards into their routes? Darius Slayton, because Darius Slayton had a better release. So he's going to get the target on that play. If you're picking a side, you're going to take the guy who won the release quicker. So it's now he's still you will, like, eventually you're going to have, like, some Jalen Hyatt 95-yard game. It's going to happen. Like, so Hyatt's speed does give you some value, but on a team that just drafted where'd they go? Malik Neighbors, and, now it's not just Darius, like, a team with Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins, and Wan'Dale Robinson. You add Jalen Hyatt to it, that brings you value, right? That absolutely brings you value because you need that second speed guy to take the top off. But when you have a Malik Neighbors and a Darius Slayton, well, now you have both speed guys, both who can run all routes at all three levels. You're not going to put Hyatt in the slot over Wan'Dale Robinson. Then your role is just so limited, and it should be. If a guy gets injured, okay, we have another speed guy out there. If teams don't play him the right way, you can have that explosive play. If a team's that's where I'm at. And Justin's computer crashed, so I made that a little longer than exactly what it should have been. But go if you have like access to all 22 film, go watch it, and you can find a play where like, ooh, maybe if you throw this ball deep to Hyatt, but you can't play consistently and be that. So like I came on this mailbag pod last week talking about like I'm not trading Darius Slayton. I'm looking to keep him. I feel even stronger about that, and it's not even based on Slayton's good performance. A lot of it is like Hyatt has shown me that we do need to invest in this second outside wide receiver.
All right, my computer just crashed. Bobby finished off that talking point, and yeah, I don't really have a lot of thoughts on Jalen Hyatt because it doesn't even feel like he's barely a member of the team. He's not a part of the offense. He's not a part of progressions. He's not getting open, and that kind of sucks for him. It sucks that it's a third-round draft pick, but that's where Jalen Hyatt just kind of is right now. Maybe if he had a quarterback that threw the ball deep more, and maybe he's utilized more, but you can't just be a one-trick pony as a wide receiver. You can't.
Could Jalen Hyatt do better on a team that has this huge arm, deep quarterback? Absolutely. Yep. But you know what? Get better at the other areas of the game because, as much as me and you emphasize the deep ball, it's fucking a low percentage part of the game. And if you can't be relied upon in the other areas, then you can't be put on the field when you need the deep throw either. You'll have some big games. Right now, he's not a good receiver, and I am entrenched that I don't want him playing. Like, I
trust Brian Dable. I trust this coaching staff, and I trust them that I'm not going to sit here and get mad. They haven't given me a reason offensively to sit here and get mad at personnel, right? Like, oh, how dare they? If this were the previous coaching staff, yeah, maybe. But I trust that this coaching staff is doing the right thing for the team, and they're putting the guys out there that they think best gives them the chance to win. And the fact that they drafted Hyatt and he's on the bench is even worse because I think they want to play him.
Yeah,
over Darius Slayton.
Is what his draft eval is.
Yeah, which is scary.
Next question.
All right, you're ready for the next question? Yeah, AJT at AJTNYG. Earlier this season, you guys said for Wan'Dale Robinson to hit his ceiling, he needs to be the go-to guy on third down. But in the postgame, you said Wan'Dale cannot be the only guy getting third down targets. So has your ideal ceiling for him changed? If not, how close is he to it? And I think, at least for me, you can't just have Wan'Dale Robinson or bust on third down short of the sticks. Wan'Dale Robinson is doing, I think, exactly what we want him to do. And, kind of like that comp is be this Cole Beasley, right? Be this Cole Beasley for this offense.
Yeah, a little more twitched up, like better tackle breaking Cole Beasley.
And he's doing that. He's doing exactly that. But I don't think you should be Wan'Dale Robinson short of the sticks or bust on third down, which in all fairness, Malik Neighbors is 12 receptions for 12 targets on third down as well.
And you saw Slayton have success on third down. So the thing, it's just kind of the same thing we said last week before we even knew Neighbors wasn't going to be playing and Slayton would have an increased role, is like make Slayton more part of the third down.
You can't be so one-dimensional.
Identity when it's third and long.
That's the point.
Third and short, yeah. Wan'Dale, money, right? If it's third and short, you're saying, who do I want the ball going to here? It's like most likely Wan'Dale Robinson because he'll win on those choice routes. He's good at that. But I do think Wan'Dale is like pretty damn close to a ceiling. Now, he's dropped some passes the last few weeks, so now that's going to be the only thing people talk about him for until he has 7-8 games in a row with only one drop, Justin. Which to me is the most annoying part about any wide receiver conversation is when all you can do is
catch the fucking ball.
Yeah. Well, it's just also that's all. That is a huge part of it, but we can't again talk about something else about that player besides their drops, right? Do they bring value in other areas, right? Did Darius Slayton drop a pass on Sunday? Yes. Is that bad? Yes. Is Darius Slayton a huge reason they won that game on Sunday? Yes. Also, I want to say something about Darius Slayton. I was looking at this because Wan'Dale has the third most catches in the NFL, and he's only third on his own team in receiving yards. So Darius Slayton has more yards but less targets. And there's a bunch of guys, but these are the names that stuck out. These are the guys that because I think Darius Slayton's like 35th in receiving yards this year. Darius Slayton, Justin, this year has more yards but less targets than these players in the NFL. And there's a bunch, but these are the big names that stuck out. Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Smith, Rome Odunze, T. Higgins, Travis Kelce, Michael Pittman Jr., and Amari Cooper. When called upon, and you say, oh, well, he was targeted as a wide receiver one game. Okay, well, he was targeted way too little in the first 4 games of the season. So Slayton's a valuable player. And this past week with Hyatt's lack of performance and Slayton's performance has me way more entrenched, in my opinion, that the Giants should look to keep him around.
Yeah, and I don't think us saying that there shouldn't be so much of a reliance on Wan'Dale Robinson is a reflection of being like, oh, he's not playing that good. No, I think he's playing really well for what he's asked to do and the type of player that he is.
He's limited because of his size, though. That's
right. But still, he's making guys miss, and like he is a low average depth of target guy. That's just who this guy is. But I don't think that guy should be 30% of your offense, because that's what he was. It was Malik Neighbors who was getting 40% of the target share before this past week, and Wan'Dale Robinson was getting 30% of the targets. I mean, that's a lot, man, and Wan'Dale Robinson should be used in situations. I don't know if he should be, him and Darius Slayton or him and Malik Neighbors are 70% of your passing offense. So getting more guys
high, lower,
getting more guys
Wan'Dale.
involved. Getting more guys involved is a good thing.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm not complaining about Malik Neighbors' target share, but I am going about Wan'Dale's. And again, we've been saying a lot of times Wan'Dale's a solid player. He's limited in what he could do, but he's solid. But now, because he's had a couple of drops, now everyone's harping on the limited part. I want to ask you this: where would you rank Slayton on the roster?
What do you mean by
just
that?
Best players. So you got an easy Dex Thomas Neighbors as your top 3. Then Burns is probably 4. Okereke 5. And then the only 2 guys I think that are worth arguing over Slayton is Jermaine Illuminor and Kayvon.
Yeah, none of the corners are there yet. None of the safeties are there. No. We mentioned the D line. You said Burns is better.
Yes.
Tight ends, no. Running backs, no. Maybe you put Singletary on that. He's a proven vet type of deal. Yeah, I mean Slayton's a good football player.
Yeah.
He's a good football player, and you need players like Darius Slayton.
Resign.
I don't care if he's like, oh well, that's the high cap hit, and you want to try. Darius Slayton's not breaking anybody's fucking bank.
Again, we're on a team that doesn't have talent. Yeah, if we were the Bengals and we had Darius Slayton with T. Higgins or March, I would entertain your don't pay him conversation. Pay Darius Slayton.
Not a perfect player, but
nope.
necessary.
Nope. Never said he was, but he's important to this team.
Yeah.
And if your argument is like, well, is he going to be here the next time the Giants Super Bowl? Then, who can you pay then? Who are we allowed to value on this team?
Yeah. Over
a fucking 4th round draft pick. All right. Next question.
Next question is coming from Dougie Fresh 86. Isaiah Simmons blocked my question, like he blocked that extra point. So read an ad. Did you see my short, by the way? That was I think it's a little bit of a special teams flaw where he had Nacho and Dexter Lawrence holding down the long snapper and the right guard. So that's I always forget the special teams coach's names. Michael Gogriel.
Gobi. Look at that. We got an advantage there now.
So if you actually think back, and this is credit to a couple people that my replies to that short. Remember the Jets game last year? Who was the special teams? Who was the assistant special teams coordinator there? And that was the same thing where those interior guys kind of held down, which is legal, by the way. It's legal. As long as you're not forcibly holding them down by, I think, their necks, or you're leaning. I don't know. I think it's a loophole where you can have your interior defensive lineman holding down the long snapper and the right guard's kind of bodies, as long as you're not pressing on their necks. And then you can have somebody jump over as long as Isaiah Simmons didn't get a running start, which he didn't. Simmons just cleared him. He didn't get a running start. He didn't push off of anybody. It was Dex and Nacho that pushed their guys down that allowed Simmons to get that clean block. So, and it was the same thing that the Jets did to the Giants last year when they played. So, how do you like that?
The ultimate gadget player, Isaiah Simmons. Like,
how do you like that?
Like, he's legitimately like a gadget player, and it brings use to the team.
But also, we have a special teams coordinator that did something nice and helped us win a football game. How do you like that? And you know what we all need to get more of? Got to get off our ass like Isaiah Simmons got off his ass on that block. Hello. With bold flavors and a refreshing citrus kick, Mountain Dew is going to get you off your ass and having you feel like you're on an actual mountain. Oh, I can't wait, man. It's not going to be 8 a.m. like my typical routine, but it's going to be pretty early in the afternoon. I'm going to get off my ass, go to L16, and the first thing I'm cracking open is a nice ice cold Mountain Dew, because that's what I do. That's my Giants game day routine. It's what it's been about. I love Mountain Dew. I had a Baja Blast for the JM Baseball stream tonight. The mountain is calling. You should answer. Grab your friends. Grab a nice cold Mountain Dew wherever refreshing beverages are sold. And do the do, will you? You'll be glad you did. Thanks to Mountain Dew. We're on to the final question. And you're muted.
You'll be glad you did.
Next question. Mr. Brownstone at Vanilla Gorilla 89. Should the Giants just drop the ball on the opening drive since both victories this year have come from a fumble leading to a score by the other team?
Is it crazy? Are we a team that needs adversity? Like, I think there's people like that. I might be one of those people. It's like, I work best under adversity. I think this is a team that needs adversity, right? They need, like, we're talking Giants versus the world. The Giants want to be versus the world as well. They need adversity.
Listen, I'm not one to question things that work, so.
Maybe it's Brian Dable being pissed off is what makes this team go when he's like, I'm going to be a new person, and then something happens on the first drive, gets pissed off, the team's ready to roll.
Dog Analytics says Bobby works best in a hurricane.
True. But you know what? I'm not going to do much work. I am going to do the preview pod, but I will see. This hurricane's going to be nasty, man. Like, we're ending the episode right now, and it's like legit. So we'll see. I'll be posting.
Because usually you talk about like enjoying the hurricane. That's not the word that you're using to describe this.
Oh, I'm stressed out about bullshit. But I mean, I'm going to go out and check out this stuff and be interested in it. But it's like, I just feel really bad for Tampa. Like, I hate to get serious on this because it's like we try to have fun, but like they got destroyed a week ago and they're gonna get this again. Like,
yep,
and it's like, also other hurricanes, it's like it go a little bit off the track and go into the ocean. This one, there's no like, oh, it maybe won't hit as hard. Like this one, there's no option besides that they go straight through the state of Florida. So
yeah,
so we'll see. Be safe out there, people. If you're on the west coast of Florida, leave. Legitimately leave. But we're not a an information, emergency information podcast. So we're not. That'll be all that. We'll see you on Friday for a preview pod of Sunday Night Football. A team we have a better record than. Got to win that one. We'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.